G'day everyone, I'm Brett and welcome to Reliance Australia. So this week's video is just a short one around about how I've set up my bench. So many of you have actually watched my videos on building a shed and the questions asked before building a shed, and also about how I've gone about sealing the floor. So this is really an update on where I'm at in the shed. So we've gone back in there and had a look at how I've set up the bench with some of the tools and how I go about using my bench. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. So this is the bench that I've got. Look, I did pick it up pretty much free. Someone's going to throw it out, so just had to clean it up and pull it apart, move it and put it back together again. So I was very fortunate in that respect. So what I need to do now, actually you'll notice that I've also put some timber on the bottom so the steel doesn't dig into the concrete slab. So really just try and protect the slab a bit more there. Look, it is probably a little bit high for what I guess would normally prefer for a workbench, but I'm fairly tall, so that's not going to bother me too much at all. But what I now need to do is work out where I want to put the angle grinder. I've got a bench drill as well, a couple of things that I'd like to put up there. Noting that I don't have power into the shed yet, so I'm running with the generator, and that'll probably just go over in near the doorway when I do run it. So having all the power things along this particular bench up against this particular wall will probably make things a lot simpler. So at the moment, just trying to work out how I want to position that, noting that I still want to actually have a bench where I can do some work. And right where that pillar is there, I'll probably will put an internal wall at some stage in through the shed as well to separate that side into a usable space where the kids can relax and do their type of stuff as well. So that's the plan at this stage. We'll see how it pans out, and I'll keep you updated as we go through. So a quick update on the bench setup. So I think the other day I was talking about putting on the angle grinder, which I have now done. It's just bolted down with a couple of 10mm bolts. I do have a slow speed grinder here as well, which is purely for sharpening. And that's actually portable, so I'm not actually going to bolt that one down. It doesn't have any mounting points, so I guess I could really mount something if I really wanted to. But it's a very slow speed, so it doesn't bounce around too much. It actually runs through this tub, and I put water in it as well, so it's a wet stone. Ideally, well actually technically I could probably take it down to the kitchen and sharpen the kitchen knives on the kitchen bench if I really wanted to. So I'm not going to actually mount that one, but the drill press here I will mount, and I'll put that over here. But the job for today will be this lovely fabricated Dawn offset vise that I'm about to put onto the bench. And for those wondering how I go about measuring it out, you'll see it's been very technical of me. I've just got a Sharpie and coloured in the holes. I've mounted where I want it to go. You'll see there's quite a few holes there. That's because the first time I did it, which was for this hole here, when I came to this hole, which you won't see a black mark for, underneath the bench is all steel, and there's actually a couple of bolts that go through there. So I've just moved it down a little bit so I can drill through without hitting any bolts. This one's actually mount through the steel, these will be through the timber, and that should hold that in place just nicely. And there it is, all bolted in, strapped down. It's steady, probably a more steady than what the bench is, so that's a good start. Look, that didn't take long at all. It's really just a couple of minutes. Drill 4 holes, then bolt it all up, and it's going to be really handy. Okay, so I've just put the vise in, and now I've just bolted in the drill press. As you can see, there's just 2 bolts under here. That's all it took, really. Now, for those who are trying to work out how I found the right spots for those bolts, essentially what I did, I measured from the front of the bench back to a distance that I felt comfortable with working, knowing that whatever had to come through here had to sort of get past the edge of that grinder too if I really had to. But look, I don't think anything will be that big. Famous last words, I know. Anyway, so what I did, I put it in there, measured up so that was square with the front of the bench. Then I just use a steel rule to go back to the end of the hole and measure to the front here. Also from the inside of the hole to the outside. I took 5mm off because obviously if you go to the end of the hole, you want to drill into the middle. So being a 10mm hole, I just took 5mm off, and that's how I found that spot in, measured in 40, back 160. Drilled the 2 holes through the bench top, bolted it in. For those that are wondering, I have used high tensile bolts because it just sort of makes a bit of sense if you're using machinery to make sure they don't wobble loose and come undone. The last thing you want is some bolts breaking off while you're in the middle of doing a job that could end up being catastrophic. But actually, now I'm very happy. So that's the majority of the stuff that I wanted to get onto the bench. As you can see, it's a bit dirty actually. Look, this has been in storage for about probably about 18 months now, in an open area, and has got a bit of surface rust on it now. So I will need to clean that all up. But I'm pretty happy that's all there. Actually, I haven't tested if it works yet, but I'm sure it will. So I've got the grinders, got the drill press and the vise, which is super important. Actually, the vise actually becomes really useful for those that do any work out in their shed. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. So there you go, another job done. Now look, ideally I'd love to have another bench at the other end of that workspace. So when I talk workspace, I'm talking about the bay in the shed. And I probably would ideally like to put some of the power tools down that end, because I don't use the power tools a lot, like I'm talking about the grinder and the bench drill and stuff like that. And I actually like having the bench to work on in that particular spot, because I can look out the doors, I can see outside, get fresh air and everything else. Whereas if I put all that at the other end of that workspace, then every time I was working on my bench, I'd sort of have my back to the door, and I just don't necessarily enjoy that, because I actually like sitting at my bench, just doing things and looking outside and enjoying the peace and quiet and serenity of being up in the shed. So yeah, but at the moment, that's the interim solution. It's what I've got, and I make the most of it. So I am quite enjoying having that set up. So look, if you've enjoyed that video, please give us a big thumbs up. You know, hit the little bell if you want to get early notifications. And as always, if you've enjoyed it and you think it'd help one of your friends, please share it. If you haven't already, please subscribe, as it helps the channel to grow. So thanks very much, and until next time, I'll see you then.